Hey everyone, James with TriTac. Today we're going to be talking about the BRN 416 or the HK 416. It was imported as parts kits, and then the lower receivers were forgings that were finished out here. So I acquired one of these kits last summer. It started out as a 16-inch barreled rifle that I put together through their kit process, and then I filed a Form 1 in order to chop that barrel down to 11 inches. So I have the 11-inch barrel, I have the long castle nut, I don't have the A5 handguard or some of the ambi features, right? So first thing that you'll notice if you pick up a 416 is that it is very, very heavy for what it is. So compared to like a Mark 18 or anything else, if you're used to like a lightweight 6-pound rifle, this is not going to be it. So definitely a heavy gun. You know, think about when it was incepted around 2004. Not really that heavy by those standards, but by today it's definitely kind of a chunk. When you're shooting, you will also notice that this gas piston system has some advantages and disadvantages. I'm not like a gas piston convert. I've used DI guns for 15 years and I don't think it's broken. Okay, this one just happens to have a gas piston. One of the things I've noticed, this is the first piston gun I've really had a lot of time with, is it has a very sharp recoil impulse. So almost surprising for a 5.56 in that the first shot's not too bad, but if we're doing multiple rounds, you really have to be holding on tight to be able to control this gun because it wants to move around a lot on you. Another issue that I noticed starting with the 16-inch barrel before it was chopped is the gun is very flashy. So you get a lot of flash signature coming out of what was the A1 flash hider that it shipped with. You also get some flash coming out of the gas port right here. Chopping down to 11-inch barrel, kind of the same, not much better or worse. The original suppressor I was running on this was an OSS Helix 556K. Did an excellent job at reducing the back pressure to almost none, and it definitely took the bark out of that short barrel. But once the can heated up in low light, we're getting a lot of flash. So I moved on to a Surefire RC2. So this is still an NFA jail, and I've had an opportunity to do some shooting with this on site. And you do obviously have some back pressure like a normal suppressor. It is not extreme compared to a DI gun. I'd say it's actually quite a bit better. And then that's actually taming the flash much better for me. So let's talk about any issues that we had initially. So functionality wise, I did notice both before and after the barrel chop, I was getting several light strikes. Because the 416 has a firing pin block safety, which is essentially a tail coming down off the bolt carrier, I assumed there was some sort of friction point with the hammer causing those light strikes. There is trigger compatibility issues with the 416, so it'll take mil-spec triggers. I ended up just swapping in a BCM QMS, and that seemed to solve the problem. And then because I'm a sucker, I went with a Geisley trigger, and no problems there either. Other issue I had, putting a kit together, I understand sometimes there's going to be variances, and obviously the original gun that these parts came off of was a machine gun. The safety that this shipped with was just very loose and kind of spongy. Just wasn't working for me, so I ended up going with a Battle Arms Development, ambi safety, and those are excellent. Additionally, I did kind of go through a couple grips. So this is the one it shipped with. It's a fine grip. I just do not care for the A1 or A2 kind of finger hump. I moved over to the A3 grip to give it more of a A5 feel. This one I did not find to give me enough traction or control, especially with the weight of the gun. So I finally kind of just threw in the towel and I went with the Daniel Defense grip. I like the integrated trigger guard, and this has the same profile pretty much as the 416A5 with their new trigger guard, and that's been working for me. One nuisance problem that I've really had, now that I've had several thousand rounds through it, that I've continually noticed, this bolt is what holds the handguard in place, and every time I throw a suppressor on this gun and I do, heavy volume of fire, this starts to loosen up. I've tried Loctiting it and I just don't want to over torque it, but it's a nuisance problem I've definitely seen. It's kind of annoying. One thing you may or may not know when we're talking about the M.O.R. 556 or HK416 is that there can be some magazine compatibility issues. So this has a square magical lower receiver here on the magazine well, as opposed to kind of an angled one you see on most AR-15s. So obviously the HK specific mags will fit in straight. Originally designed for like GI Stanag mags, those fit in fine. The Gen 1 P mags, we can kind of see that ribbing kind of goes up too high, so these won't actually seat. So this is why the US Marine Corps actually banned these for a while, as they were starting to introduce the IAR. And then we have the Gen 2 P mags, same issue, so they won't seat. Tango down mags, I don't see a whole lot of these going around, but they are excellent mags. These don't seat. The Lancers work fine. The Gen 3 P mags will work fine. But if you're going to get into one of these, understand that if you're not running GI mags or M3P mags, you may run into some compatibility issues there. In closing, is this gun worth the enormous expense? If you're looking at an HK416 or clone or M.O.R. 556, you know that a lot of your bank account is probably going to go to it. So I'll give you my experience. So I think it is a very, very cool looking gun. Obviously HK stands for Hella Clout, right? So the gun is fun to shoot. It's iconic. It turns heads. And it is very functional. It's very accurate. It's been very reliable. Once I sorted out one or two minor things, it's a great gun. It's probably not going to break, but in the event it does, tracking down parts can be harder. And then it does have a heavier recoil impulse than comparable designs. So for average Joe, you'd probably be better off buying something like a Mark 18 configuration or some sort of DI gun.
You might be able to buy one in the gift shop.
I don't think you're getting a huge performance advantage off of the HK416. If it blows your hair back, that's a whole different story. And a lot of us have spent a lot of money on stuff just because we thought it was cool. So if you like 416s and other cool guns or content in general, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, hit that bell. If you're in the Salem, Oregon area, come check us out. We have arranged memberships, classes, and a bunch of cool guns to rent. The more they tell you don't touch your face, the more I want to do it. Which way do I look more menacing?